expansion in the internal way of your consciousness. You're going to see yourself in every single level that it might come. It could be in the worst.
And psychedelics are clearly on the list of some of the most potent tools that we have. And this is what the medicine can show you. But then if you don't walk the path and you don't do the work, then you are even more wrongly ignorant because you are deliberately ignoring the work that you need to do. All right. Welcome back to Wholegrown Wisdom and the podcast where we are going slowly into the merging of ancient wisdom and science to finally prove that it's the same thing. We just are telling the story in different narratives, different languages, but it's all the same. Today I'm speaking with Gisel Romero. How's it going?
Hi, Alessandro. I'm good. How is it going?
I'm great. And just for the public to know, we know each other since a little bit now. It's been over a year that I've been working with you. Yes, it's been a while. And I brought you and I invited you to this podcast today because you are a master expert in psychedelics. Today, the conversation is all about this. But you bring a side of this conversation, of this narrative that I really love, which is the ancient wisdom, the ancient sacredness of all of this work, that it's ultimately for us to grow. So just for anyone that doesn't know you yet, you're a certified bio-neuroemotion coach. You will explain it later. What does it even mean at some point? This method integrates the science, the philosophy, and the humanism to uncover the emotional roots of our experiences. You've been one of my guides, as I said, working with ancestral plants as catalysts for awareness and transformation. And I will share some stories about this because it's been a beautiful journey. And you now guide people through personal processes that bridges neuroscience, consciousness, and the sacred to expand the consciousness and reconnect us with our authentic self. So welcome, Giselle, to the podcast. And the very first question is, guide us a little bit through your story. What brought you to do what you're doing today? What's your love for these magical plants?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And I'm really happy to be here today to share what I know, of course. And hopefully someone will resonate with this information that I'll share. So, as you said, I'm a coach in bio-neuroemotion, which is a method that is created by this man, Enrique Corbera, which is from Spain. And in my personal story, I was raised with the holistic methods because my mom used to work in the main hospital in Mexico. And she was like very in touch with all the illnesses and, like death and all all that kind of things. So she was kind of aware about something, that it was something wrong with the pharmacologist, like all the medicine and pharma. So she started exploring new techniques about like how to heal herself, ourselves as kids. And she started trying different methods as Reiki, like yoga or like acupuncture, like many, many techniques. So with the time, she was always trying to heal me with these kind of things because when I was young, I used to be very sick, like often. So I tried different things. And for me, it was always this sense of like not understanding, like, yeah, I feel, but it was like, I feel like something is missing. So I tried, and many techniques helped me to heal in different ways. But inside of me, I always had this sense of like, I'm missing something, like I'm missing something important. And I didn't understand what it was. So I came to live to Italy. And in some of this time, I went to Madrid to stay like for 3 months. And during that time, I remember that I went into this library and I was looking for answers, like when you are trying to find science. And I found this book. It was called The Art of Unlearning by Enrique Corbera. And I was like, this is very, very interesting. So that was my first introduction to this method. So long story short, I studied this method, and this really helped me to change my life. Because the approach of this method is to really go to the root to understand exactly all the unconscious information that we have. Because if we are not aware about like how we think or all of the information that we have, it's very difficult to understand like how I'm behaving and what are my dynamics in the life, right? So we are in a automatism. Like we are not really aware about like what we are doing daily. So with this method really helped me to understand deeply myself and realize that I was a victim whole way. Like, I was in a victim mood all the time, blaming everyone and, like suffering and struggling with different things. And I was like, this is very tiring. So this method is very confronting because it shows you everything that you have to understand to be responsible about, like what is happening outside is a reflection of yourself. So when you are aware about this, it's like, wow, I have all this responsibility about like everything that is happening is because I'm behaving in some ways that are not respecting my authentic self, let's say like that. So by doing this, meanwhile, of course, as a Mexican, I tried already different plant medicines. And also in those experiences, it was like very cathartic to understand like different ways of myself in different planes of dimensions. But it's still, when I did it time ago, something was missing. It was like, yes, I can understand the whole universe, me as a reflection of God, like me as a light, and me as a different ways. But when I tried this method of bio-neuroemotion, for me it was like the kind of like to close the whole circle, to understand everything, right? Like to understand like, okay, these are my limited beliefs. And with psychedelics, it's like to expand these, like to really go over there, to have this expand, like your conscious in an expanding way. So for me, it was like very interesting to see what happened when you blend these techniques, because in somehow with plants, it's like you need to have a kind of like a specific intention. So in that way, the plant communicate through yourself to have understanding or like a message or something. So I think this it was very powerful, because in this way you really were able to understand 100% the full picture of yourself. So for me, it was sometimes also during this process, in my personal process, sometimes, when I struggled from different things, right? Like I never felt love, I never felt like this self-esteem, like different things. And sometimes many psychologists say like, oh yeah, love yourself, do this, do that. And you're like, yeah, but no one teach me how to do that. So with the plant medicine, really, they teach you to feel that. And that's very, very powerful. They help you to remember, and they help you to reconnect to that part of yourself that it's been kind of like hidden, but it's been always there. So that's the beautiful thing about this merge method that I've been creating.
Amazing. I loved it, and I still remember it was quite harsh, like the first session. Like you go straight to dig into the painful belief systems that are still down there and try to work on them and rewire them. I do a lot of work to explain all of the science and the biology and the energetics behind what you just say about, we are a byproduct of our habits. 90 at the beginning, it's crazy because this number keeps rising depending on the new science that comes out. It was at the beginning, it was like 50%, then it got to 90%. Now it's even 97% of our daily actions are completely run by our subconscious mind on autopilot. And all of this, like the master code for running this autopilot, is our belief system. So it's connecting deeply with what you're saying. And I have a few questions. Probably we can start from understanding how the psychedelics work when you need to do this rewiring process in your mind. I've heard lots of keywords like neuroplasticity, and all of the expanded consciousness to understand and introspection and so on and so forth. But I want you, because you're the expert on this, guide me and guide us through a little bit of the science first, and then we go into the actual ancient part, which is even more interesting on the history of all of this.
Yeah. So in general, like I'm gonna generalize because of course there are different plant medicines, right? Like there are tons of like different ones. So in general, or at least talking about the psilocybin, which is like mushrooms, which is like more specialized because like this theme is like huge. Like there is like lot of information. So I'm gonna focus at this moment to psilocybin. So what happens with psilocybin comes into your body like for example, there is this the substance is like, as I said, like psilocybin, but it's not that it creates that into your body. When you eat it and you digest it with the stomach, the acids and everything, you take the psilocybin, which is the one that creates in your brain this effect. So in general, what happens is like your brain starts working in a different way. In somehow, the medicine deactivates some part of the brain, which is like, in general, is this rumination that we have in our brain. It goes low, like very low. So it's in this way. Also, there are some studies where you can see the pictures about like which part of the brain illuminates in a different way, like with and without. And you can see like some parts, it's just like, it's not like they turn it off, but somehow. So that's amazing, because when you have this lower voice of your brain going down, it's like you have this sense of expansion, right? Because you don't have this mind constantly there protecting you, because also that's the function of your mind, always telling you what to do or what you don't do. So this is one of the first things. And another thing is also reactivates this neuroplasticity. So what that means, that all these the connection that we have in our brain, it's gonna become like faster and bigger. So also that's why you have this medicine helps to, for example, for people that they are like drug addicts, because in this way, when you are creating more connection into the brain, is the best way to create new habits or to break the habits that you have. So it's kind of like rewire your brain. So in this state, you are always having this kind of like expansion in the internal way of your consciousness, because it's kind of like the expansion, as I said, like, because the mind goes lower, your conscious like goes bigger. So also this creates these cathartic ways, and also activates a little bit the serotonin, which is also the happy hormone, right? So it's always about like how this start like working on your brain, and it's amazing to see how all these effects. So for example, with the psilocybin, in your brain works for like around 4 or 8 hours. It depends on the dose. So the more you are in these states, the more rewiring we are going to have. So that's why also internally people like shares that they have had like this understanding about the patterns, and they can see like how these patterns work in your brain. So it's kind of like have this very full understanding about everything, that it will come to your consciousness, and it will come like easy to see. So it's beautiful, all the process that it happens inside of you and in your brain, because also these effects, it lasts for the next days, almost 2 weeks. So also this is a time where you're still like reactivating some things, and that it reflects into your life.
I did feel all of that multiple times in different occasions. I confirm it's deeply powerful. And I think we're gonna get through the end of the conversation. I will ask you kind of like very detailed technical questions of like the different doses or how it works, the difference between and macro dosing and so on. Now I'm very interested into understanding what's been the role of these medicines through history. You're deeply passionate about this topic. Actually, maybe we can even start with what is the main issue that you're seeing right now applied with this medicine in a kind of like Western medical approach rather than the actual role that they played in humanity since thousands of years?
In everything that I've been studying, it's amazing to see like how this medicine is being in this earth for like thousands of years ago. But the most important thing for me is to realize that the most antique religions, as the Vedic in Indian, or the religion in Persian, the ancient Persia, they've been using, for example, the Vedic, they use soma, which is a plant medicine, and the ancient Persia used alma, which is also another plant medicine. So also in Greece, the Eleusinian, I don't know exactly the name in English, but yeah.
The Eleusinian, yeah, yes. I've been reading about this recently.
Yeah, they use the Kikeon, and for example, in the indigenous part of Latin America, or like peyote and ayahuasca. So if you go and see the history about the use of these plants, it's been always present. And we like also in the study with my teachers, we have the theory about like, thanks to this experience, it's not like written, but you can see also in the archaeologies, like when you see symbols designed on the walls, or when you see these ceramic structures, and you can see also they were plants and this medicine, and you can see it. So it's always about like understanding that this is being used for many, many years ago. And this is part of the evolution of the human being. And this is part of the evolution of the new religion that are coming in the society and all of that. And but in that time, it was used in a sacred way. Like if you go and read the story, you can see that the use, it was just for the fact that they wanted to commune with the divine nature. And it helped them to recognize themselves as a part of the totality. So that's why they start creating these like religions, like putting together like the way that they felt and the way that we are going to share this and we're going to make it bigger, because since that time they saw the importance about like the connection with the totality. So for me, it was amazed how all of these also is been changing during the history, right? Because if you can see how in the antique Rome, also in that part, they start separating this feeling of the connection with the totality with the faith. Like it's better to believe in something that you cannot see, that you cannot feel. It's more about like putting your attention out there.
And there is somebody in between to make the translation for you, right?
So I guess it was also about the power that they start gaining, because what happened in this kind of experience, your ego can become very big. And I guess, and I think this is one of my, I don't know, like hypothesis, like probably some of these persons have this amazing experience and they came back feeling like, I'm God, I'm the one who was choosing to guide you. So I'm sure that also it was the part about like the creation of the religion, like being someone to say like, I'm the one who is going to tell you how to do the things, because probably they have a revelation, but probably the translation about like what they feel and integrate it and put it out there, it was a misconnection, right? So it's interesting to see how all these medicines, they've been changing relationship with the society. And for me, it's more about to see how the power also came to make the things and different way, like this is the power and this is you, like kind of like separating the people of the town through the people from the religion. So it's very interesting to see, because if you look in the story, back in the story, like there is tons of books and information, and also it depends according to which country, right? Because every country uses different plants, and so also you can see how they use it and how all of this it helped to the evolution of the society. So if you go look back, so you will see a lot of information, and it will be very, very clear about like the medicine. It's been always present, always.
What do you think is the main risk of doing these activities right now in a fully medical setting? Because for me, the experiences has always been the one that you mentioned, like understanding that you're bigger than just yourself, that you're connected with everything and the whole and nature connection. I mean, I would never literally be able to imagine the same effects doing it in a hospital room with artificial lighting and a blanket on me. Like, where do you see the potential risks on the other side? Because of course it's beautiful that we're kind of like living in this psychedelics renaissance, but it's not all perfect as they may show it to us. It's, I guess.
I think it's when all of these medicine were taken by the Occidental world, because I'm Mexican, so I know that from there it's been always there, and it's been always in a ritual, in a ceremony, and it's always about like to reconnect with the ancestral part. So when the Occident world came to and take the medicines, I think they started studying more about all the scientific parts, right? To understand, like they want to understand like how it works in the brain, how it works in your system, or what is it going to be helpful for. So all of these studies is being, like having a lot of information, which is very, very useful to understand exactly how the plants interact into your brain and body. And I think that thanks to this, it's being now more accepted again into the society. Because, you can see right now like a huge wave of movement with this medicine again, which probably 10 years ago you didn't see that strong. So in somehow, I think this is thanks to this scientific part, because, like they've been very, very studying about this. And of course, they took apart the sacred part. They've been focused more about, okay, let's see the results and let's go deeper and investigate everything. So I think in somehow we are just using different languages, but they are not completely separate. Because for me, it's very important to see all this scientific part to understand how it works and to understand exactly what are the benefits about it. Because without this information, probably all the ancestral part, it would be forbidden, And now I think slowly it's becoming to reintegrate into the society again. Like here in Europe, I can see a lot of people like they are very interested to more into ceremonial part. So yeah, for example, I have friends that they've been using more in the therapeutical way, like not in the hospital, but at least with a therapist, next to him, he's just lying and doing the, like this journey. And I don't see a huge difference about like doing this compared to doing a ceremony, because what it will happen if I don't know, like a person from the north of Europe goes to Peru and do a ceremony with ayahuasca, all the language that this town is going to use is going to be very, very far away from the system to live of this person. So probably that is going to be kind of like won't have the same connection if someone from there will do the same ceremony. So I think it's more about which language do you feel comfortable with. So in that way, how do you want to approach the medicine? So I think it's more about the perspective.
I see. And coming into this, how do you see Let's say for anyone out there evaluating in the evaluation phase, because I guess anyone that had a very good experience once in their lifetime, the universe put it there in the right place at the right time, they cannot be but promoters of all of this. I don't think I ever heard a genuine negative feedback from a person that had a genuine transformational experience. The only ones that are talking badly about it, and clearly they have their own reasons, is because they had bad trips. And let's talk about this. Like, how can you make sure, or how can you limit the chances for a bad experience here? Because our ego is trying to protect us. It will try to find as many possible ways to keep us away from it. How do we slowly convince the ego, but at the same time, how do we make sure that during the experience, the ego doesn't get on the way to try, to keep you holding there and then having the bad experience?
Well, first of all, there are different profiles that they cannot do the medicine, as like people with bipolar syndromes, or schizophrenic, or right now it doesn't come to my mind, but it's more about like these mental,
like big mental illnesses. Okay.
not allowed, because it will be even worse for them, because you can go into this psychiatric crisis. But on the other hand, like in general, these bad trips, it comes in different ways, because it's always about the setting, with who you are, where you are you comfortable with the person that is going to be next to you? The diet also is very important, because sometimes in this process of the digestion to process the medicine, if you are very have a lot of toxins in your body, it's going to be even worse to digest it and to put it into your system. So also that's kind of like your body will fight a little bit. So you will feel a little bit nauseous, or like a little bit sick. So that's why also the diet is important, to do it to take care before like a macro dose. So it's also about, as I said, the intention, because sometimes when you go in a ceremony and you don't have like a specific intention to put it into the medicine, you can open up whatever can come. And also that can be very overwhelmed to a person that is not expecting anything, right? So in general, I think you have to have this little curiosity about like yourself, in the way that you will be ready to see whatever it might come. I know that you won't be never ready, but at least to be sure about like you are ready to see yourself, because that's going to happen. You're going to see yourself in every single level that it might come. It could be in the worst, it could be in the biggest. So in these kind of experiences, when you are there, and one of the first things that happen is you lose control. So imagine to have a person who is like controlling everything in their life. When you start like having this sense of losing control, it's going to be very bad, because you will try probably putting your mind there. Is like, okay, I'm going to try to control it. Like, I don't like what I see. I don't like this sense. So that's when you start like resisting, is what creates this bad trip. Because in somehow what you have to be is like, let yourself go. Like, like this sense of like, I'm just going to release myself, and to don't go through these really intense sensations. Sometimes it's always go back to your body, always, like reconnect with your breath and connect with that till this intensity pass, right? So that's why also it's very important to have a facilitator or a shaman or whoever wants to be with you to guide you in somehow, right? It will never interfere in the journey, because that's not the part of the role of the person. But it's more about like when you struggle in some specific moment, to be sure that you are safe and everything is gonna pass, right? Just like trusting the process, which is easy to say, but when you are in this state, it's a little bit hard. So that's why it's one of my commitments, right? Because also in my experience, I have difficult situation, not because of, yeah, probably because of the facilitator that I have, but also because mentally I was not ready. So also thanks to this experience, also for me was like, now I know that what you are missing during this bad experience. So for me, it's also like I wanted to go deeper to understand all of this. So mainly, in short words, is just to feel safe when you are gonna do this type of experiences.
You mentioned the role of the guide or the shaman, and when we chatted before this recording, we were kind of like discussing a little bit about the role of the new shamanism and these new figures that are emerging. Can you guide me a little bit through that? What's happening in the background or even in complete front row now with all of of these new people that are re-merging these worlds, and they're bringing their services, I guess, to the people.
As I was saying before, like there is this big wave about psychedelics during these times. So thanks to this, also there is a lot of new generation as me too. Like trying to understand more or reconnecting with the medicine. So I think it's very difficult to nowadays to say like I'm a shaman, right? Because I did this. I understand about ceremony and I understand the cosmovision of the Mayas, or so it's like I'm just gonna call myself a shaman. But I think it doesn't work like that. I think it's more about our role as a new generation. It's kind of like bring together these new languages, as I said before, right? The scientific part and the sacred part, because I think both are really, really important during this process. So what I call this, or at least what I've been seeing, this neo-shamanism is more about like how we interpretate this language into our modernity and into our, like the way that we are communicating nowadays. Because I think it will be very, very hard, even as a Mexican, like if you go in a ceremony with the old shamans, because you can find like original shamans in the specific towns in Mexico, no, like the indigenous part, they still there. So even though if as a Mexican, I'm still in this Occidental world, so we don't speak the same language. So even though I want to be involved or to approach all of this belief, it's always gonna be this misconnection. And I think that there is exactly where this new shamanism probably comes, right? Just the integration that we are having and the interpretation that we are putting, as I said, in this time. Because also there is another part that probably very few people are talking, and it's about the rave, right? Like in the raves, a lot of people consume medicine, like different kind of medicine, probably more LSD or different ones. And now there is a new kind of like neologisms that represent like this revelation during the raves, that they still very sacred for the new generations, because even though in this environment, which is like a lot of music and you dance and you go into this trance, which is exactly the same that the antiques used to do. But now we are.
It's just nowadays techno instead of being like the maracas and the flute.
It's about like we change the elements, but the essence of this is still there. So it's interesting to see how we are adapting all of this into this new generation, with our own languages and with our own way of we interpret what we are seeing and how we are feeling. Because I think also to really feel the connection with these plants, it's about like how you resonate with the plant, how you want to show yourself. Because sometimes in some ceremonies, they ask you to open the portals and connect with water and with fire and, like connect with the elements. And probably one doesn't resonate with that. And someone will say like, okay, I'm going to do this, but like, So that misconnection.
Yeah, I still remember the first times dealing with the Shabas is like, what are we even talking about? But I don't know. Back then, I was just too curious not to say no, and so somehow things happened. But I definitely see sometimes it's really like a person could really feel like out of place and out of language, probably just like a lost in translation. Giselle, I'm curious to understand for the very, very practical, logical minds out here listening, what are the key benefits that you're seeing in the people that you're working with, especially when it comes, also not just for the personal life, which is a huge part, but then how it even reflects to the professional life. At the end of the day, I feel like people are still dividing too much, the work that you do for yourself versus the work that you are supposed to be doing for the professional growth. When you actually start with an integrated perspective, the work that you do on yourself is the work that gets reflected on everything else that you're doing, right? So how do you see this, like kind of like a practical guide for practical people?
Well, it's hard to say the practical guide, but because for me, it's always about reconnection. That's the key word for me. And because if with this example about someone who doesn't understand how their internal world, which is like all your psyche, reflects into the work, relationships, everything, right? So if someone is not able to understand the importance about like going inside to see what's happening, it will be very hard to make them change the perspective to see like, now I see what's happening outside. So it's always about, for me, the responsibility that you have about knowing yourself. And you can use these techniques, which is like are really mind opening. But even though if you do this medicine and probably that's not the cure, that's not going to be the solution. The solution is like when you are able to see what you have to see, and it's always about going back to yourself, you cannot do anything else. Like even though you have expansion for a moment of 8 hours connecting with the divine God and everything, you go back here and you still need to do the job.
That's the hardest part.
Because it's amazing. You come back like, oh my God, I'm God, you're God, and we love you, like I love everyone. But after someone comes and yelled at you and you're like, oh, and you forgot everything. So for me, it's very, very important to slow down the rhythm that we have nowadays with all this noise of the society, like do this, do that, run, be faster, be excellent, and be very hard with yourself. Like the more you do is the better, and all of that is like, what if it's not? What if you stop for a minute and you start like going back, not going back to see what you did wrong, going back to yourself to see like what am I doing wrong, or where I'm missing this connection. Because I think the disconnection is what is the main problem of society, that we are not able to say, this is who I am. Because as you know, like we have different baggage on our shoulders that is even not ours. I don't know if I answered your question, but this is what it came.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, it's not always. I get this question when I'm on the other side of the podcast often, and it's always like, when you really get what the work is, you would stop actually even asking the specific question, because you understand that it's for everyone is different. We all have different baggages, as you call them. I call them the rocks in your backpack that you don't even know you're carrying around. And everybody has different rocks, and for many different reasons. And the work to take them out is partly different, is shared. There are some commonalities, but there are eventually different techniques for each of us. When I was during the meditation classes and in the Buddhism school sangha that I was following when I was back in Italy, they always used to say, like human mind and all of the problems, all of the errors are all caused by ignorance. And when you're able to see what is actually the root cause for all of this, then you have the way. And this is what the medicine can show you. But then if you don't walk the path and you don't do the work, then you are even more wrongly ignorant, because you are deliberately ignoring the work that you need to do.
And that's why for me it's very important to teach the people to listen to the body. Body says everything. So that's why you can see, I think we are in this part of the nowadays, we want quick fixes. And if you have some pain, it's like, I'm going to take the pill just to don't feel any pain, or like headaches or stomach ache, everything is just, I'm going to take the pill. Like, you never question, like, what did I eat, or like, what did I'm doing wrong. And I've been seeing, yeah, science helps a lot, right, with cancer or with different medicines. But in general, it's like, if you don't question yourself about like what you are doing, and it's always about like not being current with yourself, not being authentic. So I've been always conditioning about like who I'm supposed to be, or like how I'm supposed to behave. So all of this conditioning is always about the disconnection that I have with myself, because I don't even know who I am. So when you don't know who you are, it's like how you can be authentic. So probably you are just, carrying this baggage and, like repeating some patterns, and you don't even know who you are. Sometimes the body's yelling at you, but you're like, I'm going to take another pill, and that it will be. So yeah, I think, and also what I've been understanding, we see this, we see this in society all the time, but also I think it's part of life to respect the process of every single one. So, because also probably we can learn from someone because of that process that they are having through.
When you go much deeper into this type of conversation, you will start to feel love even for all of this, because humans will learn through duality in this life. We wouldn't know what is bad if we didn't know what is right, or the opposite in this case. So definitely, absolutely, I love this conversation, Giselle. I want to end it up just saying once again, the work is so important. It's a reflection of who you are outside, and I'm glad when you discussed about the neo-shamanism, let's call it like that, and the role that these people have, not only on bringing on the traditions, the good parts of tradition, because there are definitely also very wrong, bad parts of that tradition, but also combining it with a scientific narrative that clearly gives you, the hard facts about all of this. And psychedelics are clearly on the list of some of the most potent tools that we have, not the end goals, but the tools to actually get to our goals. So thanks so much for sharing this, Giselle. And for anyone listening, again, this is Whole Grain Wisdom. We are exploring the new and the old, the world of science and ancient wisdom, to finally reconnect the dots, just sharing what we always knew, but as Giselle said, in a new scientific narrative this time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.